there's a set piece in the Titty Twister, which is the bar they go to, where a band is playing, and you have a bunch of strippers and go-go dancers out in front of it. I just thought to myself, it's like, wow, how could this not be inspired by Girl in the Gold Boots? And from there, you start to see a lot of similarities in the films that you made with filmmakers today, which is a great testament to what you did and the things that you brought out. And Girl in the Gold Boots, talk about that, because it's such a change in what you were doing. All of a sudden, you're doing a musical drama. How did that come about?
Well, see, I was directing stage material. When I went to Bend, Oregon from Portland to shoot there, I became instantly involved with the community theater, the drama. And so that's where I drew my original people from for those 10-year little movies. I'd start out, I'd say, who can show up on Saturday morning? And I'd say, oh, your name, your name, your name. We can make you a bad guy. You can be the pretty girl. You can drive the getaway car. And I put together a story idea on an envelope. And then within an hour or two, we'd be out shooting it, you know. And so I wanted to do Girl in Gold Boots because I wanted heartfelt drama. I always had the philosophy you had to make people feel something. Make them cry, laugh, be entertained, but feel something. If they walk away and haven't felt anything after watching your movie, if they've seen nothing, you've missed the point. You've not really entertained them if you haven't touched them in various ways.
Right.
And then that's, of course, later, Heart of a Boy, I was trying to do that to a greater depth, a greater degree. But in Girl in Gold Boots, the girl in Black Klansman who played the daughter of the head of the KKK, she, I don't know whether I bought it for her, but we got her in a pair of these shiny spandex leotard type thing. And then I took her places to dance on the tables to try to get somebody to come up with a couple of bucks to help me make the movie, right? I had no financing.
Wait a second. So you found the girl, got her dressed up like a go-go dancer, brought her to places to dance on table to raise money for your movie.
Yeah, yeah. We got to get interest, the people to help finance. Well, now here's what did happen to that. I didn't find money because I think I had a total of $2,800, and that had to go to buy raw stock. And so that wasn't gasoline for the vehicles or anything. I know that the crew was probably wondering where my head was when I called everybody together at the end of a day. And we'd been shooting all day way out outside of Hollywood, 20, 30 miles up there. And I said, people, I appreciated your hard work. You were very highly focused on what we did, but it didn't have the right feel. So I have to tell you that I'm going to dump, garbage, everything we did today. I'd like to be back here again tomorrow morning and do it with more fervor and maybe get a better performance of each of you. I know you'll thank me for thinking this way if you were to see what we just did. I know we can do better, so we're going to garbage can it. And I did that, garbage canned it. But in Girl in Gold Boots, what happened was once you go in, and I think I maybe mentioned to you earlier, Chris, that Paramount invited me over to talk to Jeffrey Katzenberg, was new at the studio at the time, a new executive, brought in Joyce Selznick, and I needed $156,000 to do the movie, what I thought, in a correct manner. And I had people coming up with music. I had the guy that sang Cowboy Santa and all that, all these people that were wanting to put in things into the movie. So I knew what I needed, and Jeff says, well, the $156,000 wouldn't work for us because we got studio overhead, has to be added, you know. And I said, how much? $1 million or something. Well, previously I had met some grips that had told me in advance, this is long before I had met and talked with Jeffrey Katzenberg, they told me that we had to get lumber out of the yard. We didn't know which production to charge it to, so they just stabbed in the dark and charged it to one production. And so I thought, they're not going to do that to me. You give me autonomy, I spend the money. No, we can't let you do that. Well, if I can't have autonomy, I can't spend the money, and really, there's no real reason for me to get involved, so I walked away. And that had happened 2 or 3 times. People always say to me, why don't you work for the studios? You don't just work for a studio. You have to be invited and then asked and so on like that. But as a consequence, though, I've never gone to the studio for financing. Bill Mumsford, who was in acquisitions at 20th Century Fox, had to be about 72, 73, 72. After Corpse Grinders, which did $10 million at the box office, and I had pennies to do it. I mean, almost zero.
Do you remember what the budget was for Corpse Grinders?
Yeah, I had $1,700.
$1,700.
And that had to buy color raw stock. I mean, negative. And of course, I had the lab to deal with. I had gasoline. I had to feed him something. So we joke a lot about peanut butter sandwiches. And the stuff that came out of the corpse grinding machine was a mixture of sawdust and hamburger, which I had to send somebody to the meat market. 29 cents a pound at that point.
Where did that concept come from? Where did the corpse grinder come from?
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just finish a little tiny bit more on Girl and Go Boots, and then we'll go on to Corpse, okay?
Yeah.
So anyway, I had these people wanting to put in music. Jody Daniels had several songs. My friend Nicholas Karras, who is just recently deceased, did the music for me. In fact, I sent him to Munich little by little, and Nickel came in here, Nickel came in there, and I operated on my credit. Totally on my credit to the labs and so on, because I was always considered to be a man of my word, and they would trust me. So Nick Karras went to Munich and did the score to the music, and he did score for me on almost everything up until the last few years. Anyway, we had to put all of this music in. People started asking me, can't we put out the music, the score on the entire movie? Well, the music came from about 6 or 7 different sources.
Sure.
I couldn't put them all together because they all wanted their own BMI, ASCAP, you know, and I couldn't put it all together. But overall, even I heard just recently, and I'm talking about only a few months ago, Yahoo said Girl and Go Boost was their 14th biggest seller.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and even though I'm still waiting for some kind of royalty, I still, right now, Girl and Go Boost, done in 1967, 68, is still holding its own with anything I've done since. Can you believe that?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
One thing that I feel is I'm honored that even my movies that are 40 years old are still kicking around. You can still pick them up and up now. See, recently now, they go back into the archives to bring up, but mine were available long before they were going into the archives for digital reproductions of them. So anyway, I think that answers the Girl and Go Boost. I ended up, you know, taking Leslie McRae on tour. We were on stage with the Beach Boys.
Oh, no kidding?
Yeah, and we were going to parachute. We were going to come by helicopter into the various theaters and drive-ins that played the movie, and we did a nice tour. And in Texas, they gave me a nice write-up there saying, how would Ted Michaels dare to make a G-rated movie in this day and age? Isn't he taking a terrible chance? I did take a terrible chance. I lost my property. I lost everything. I owed the lab something like $80,000 for prints. I had to give him my property on Mount Washington to satisfy the bill. You know, money doesn't come in. The theaters take all their money for co-op advertising, for all the expenses. I had to buy the prints, give it any money that came in to the lab. On Doll Squad, though, for example, the foreign sales were excellent on Doll Squad because we weren't dealing with humor that foreign countries didn't understand.
Right.
So we sold most of the foreign countries, enough to bring in money to pay the lab for the whole movie, to make the prints for the theaters in this country.
So, I mean, it really is. It's a labor of love. No matter what you're doing, it's a matter of paying somebody and then moving forward, paying someone and moving forward to the next one. So from Girl in the Gold Boots is then the Corpse Grinder.
Corpse Grinder.
Where did that concept come from? Like, how did that come about?
I had an office in Hollywood, it was with Larry Harmon, Bozo the Clown, in his building. Okay. And I was at, when I first went to Hollywood, Producer Studios was across the street, you know, yards away, so I could see everybody going in and out. And then Paramount was across the street this way on Melrose. And I was on Bronson. People were coming into my offices constantly because they didn't have to go, like later when I went to Columbia Picture Studio and Goldwyn Studio, they had to go to the front desk and get a permission or get me to acknowledge that they're welcome to come up to my office. Well, in the Larry Harmon building, Bozo the Clown's building, they could just walk in the door and be right there. I couldn't avoid them. And so half the people, not half, many, many people that are still alive today and are stars, like Sid Haig and so on, they'd come into my offices. The guy that had the big jaws and the steel teeth.
In the Bond movies?
Yeah, in the Bond movie. All of a sudden, I saw him recently too in a show.
Oh, no kidding.
At a film show. Anyway, these people would come in all day long. And then I found, after I went to Goldwyn Studios and Columbia. Columbia was a little bit more specific, but at Goldwyn Studios, people would get a permission to come in to see somebody, and then they'd come into my office. So I had a hard time avoiding them. But one nice thing, about the time of Corpse Grinders, a young fellow came in. I didn't have a part for him, but he had just come in here from another part of the country, some other state. I don't know where it was. And somehow or other, we ended up talking, and I think I spent an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours with him, telling him all about the industry. He had never had a part. He really wanted to be an actor and be in the movie business. And then 2 or 3 years, I didn't have a part for him, didn't have anything right then. And probably 4 or 5 years later, I got a call from this guy. He said, you know what? When I came to Hollywood, no one would talk to me. No one gave me the time of day. You took time off from your busy schedule. Your phones are ringing. Your secretaries are asking for you, and you just kept on talking with me for somewhere close to 2 hours. He said, now I'm an attorney, and I will be your attorney for free anytime you need me from here this day forward.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So those are the things that make you feel good,
Sure.
And of course, as far as making a movie, like my dear friend Shantice said the other day, after every movie, he says, forget it, I'm through, piece of crap movie, I want to go on to the next one. But I think that's probably true with anyone in the creative fields. You always know that you can do better next time.
Sure.
Always.
Now, with the Corpse Grinder, let's talk a little bit about the props and the practical effects, and because that movie did a lot, and for promoting purposes, everything that you did from making that movie, making the cat food out of the corpses, I mean, that's great. And then the cats get the taste of humans, and yeah, I mean, all that is just incredible. Where did that come from?